Welcome back to InsideX episode number 3, and we're moving right along. Before I bring Ryan into the studio, I'm going to break down this episode coming up here. We got some good stuff. The Arma Rewind this week. We're going to go back to 2001 Blackstock National. Man, so many good riders. The elevation from 99 that we seen last week to 2001 is incredible. Stay tuned as Ryan breaks that down, as well as myself. And moving right along to the Gas social media check-in. Obviously, Gas, a new team this series, and we're actually going to get Sims and Gaynor in next week, so we'll break those bikes down and see how those guys have made that transition from Yamaha. But social media check-in brought to you by Gas. And this week, we're going to Roodz Garage. I'm actually going to grab his suspension from Steve. We seen him do it last week. I'm going to take it over to Roodz. I'm going to hang out with him for a bit and see how this build is going to go. Obviously, that Parts Canada Dream Bike coming together. We're going to start building that thing up. He had the motor out. He had everything out. So we're going to put that back together and start building it up and hopefully test it very soon. And lastly, we got a special guest coming on today. He's out in California, so it's going to be a Zoom chat. And it's Colt Nichols, the Star Racing Yamaha rider. He's got the red plates in the East Coast right now. We're going to catch up with him before he heads back to the final 2 rounds of Supercross. So look forward to talking to him, and lots more content coming your way. Just stay tuned right after this commercial break. And we're back in studio. InsideX brought to you by the kind folks at Parts Canada. And we're on Fox Sports. Myself, Kyle Thompson, Ryan Galt. And we're back at it again. We're getting closer to that race season. I'm getting pumped.
EP3 here, coming into the middle of April. It is sunny. It is happening outside. I've been riding a lot. I'm feeling good. Like if there's a fill-in ride right now, like, boys, put my number on the bottom of the screen right now. Okay?
Yeah,
I'm the guy. I'm the guy.
Text him, shoot, DM him.
Yeah.
But this episode, we're actually going to take a look at a race that you weren't in, Arma Rewind. We go back to 2001 Blackstock, which was an interesting race. Can't wait to dip into that.
I was actually a mechanic that day.
Oh, so you're my role for you now.
We'll have to say yes. I was a mechanic that day.
Probably didn't go well, eh?
The pitboard signs were fun. The results weren't good, no.
We'll get back into that Arma Rewind there. Also, we have Colt Nichols, red plate holder in the West Coast, I believe it is. Yeah,
it's hard to figure out how they kill those things.
With the AMA. He's leading one of the coasts. He rides for Star Racing, Monster Energy. So very cool to talk to him. And, that's getting the American side of things. We're going to get some Canadian boys here soon. The next episode, maybe get the Tanner Ward or Marco Canella, like local guy here in Ontario.
Why would they want to do it? It's tough to promote yourself. Come on, boys. Let's get it done for sure. Let's talk to them.
Exactly. But lots of cool stuff coming down the pipe here InsideX. And we dip into some Royal Distributing stuff that they've got going on, as well as we go back to Roodz Garage. I know he's going to be lacing up some wheels for this sweet project bike. We got the suspension done. We're starting to piece this thing together, and it's always cool to talk to him and get things going.
It's probably bugging Roodz that we got to wait episode to episode to do all this work for him. He wants to just kind of bang it out in that garage out there, kind of thing. But it's looking so good. So good.
Yep. He's getting parts are rolling in, and thanks Parts Canada getting those set up, and as well as Yamaha. It's awesome to be part of Blue Crew. I love it, Galdi.
I mean, there's nothing else out there.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
You're drinking it. It goes down smooth, and it'll leave a blue stain though.
And you've been with them for. We talked about this. How many years?
1993 with a couple
off
years.
I
had an 05 Honda and 03 and 04 KTM. Other than that, Blue Crew every year since. I bleed it. I know. You cut me open, I drip blue.
Blue shirt.
Like my third shirt right here. I'm actually not wearing a shirt. This is just a yellow sticker on my Blue Crew chest.
There we go. And we're going to get more into the episode. I'm looking forward to that 2001 Blackstock. Yes. And that's going to come up right next after this short commercial break.
I will never stop. Would you want me to slow down? Would that make it easier for you? Or would you want the fight? The pour your heart into it kind of fight? Or should I stop working so hard? I know you'd want me to slow down. I know it would make it easier for you. But then the gate drops. I wouldn't be anywhere else. One goal, one vision.
Welcome back to another Arma Rewind. We're going back. We're in the 2000s now, Galdi. 2001 Blackstock National. And we talked earlier, you sat out this one with an injury.
Yep.
But man, what a difference from 99 to 2001. The talent pool got huge.
The money was in the industry. Teams were excited. Morgan Racing had made a big comeback this year. You had Casey Johnson, Mike Treadwell, Pedro Gonzalez. And then you had, on the KTM side, you had Lance Smale over there. Blair Morgan, JSR. Mike Craig was on the squads. Turbo Reef was racing in there. Sean Hamlin was back. Like, it was an endless supply of names we have all grown up and known. And for me, it did suck. I got hurt at the second round that year at Lethbridge. I broke my ankle, but I was able to be a fan, and as I always love. But on this day, I was a mechanic. But that whole year, if you get a chance to watch that on YouTube, the 2001 season is unbelievable. And that was the first year of JSR's 5 in a row as Canadian champion. So he came in as number 20. Him and Blair Morgan on the same squad, the Blackfoot team that year. And they went back and forth, back and forth. On this day, Blair actually went 1-1.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah, and but just this track, it's actually our head referee, Paul Kingsley, was the promoter of this back in the day.
I see a shot of that with the blonde hair.
Yeah, he had a full dye job going on back then. So he was he knew the guys that own the property, and it literally is a rock quarry. And we just staked it out and put it in there. And as you're watching the action, super cool layout, tons of crazy drop offs. Our own boss man Justin Thompson, then we got him crashing with a funny crash. But just a really neat vibe about that whole that race that day.
Yeah, I actually got to race that, and that was my first year and my first taste of pro. And going back to the beginning of that season, I went to the West because Justin, my older brother, was riding the 250 class out there, which is now the 450. And I raced against a young kid, 13 years old, Colt Nichols.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I was, 5 years older than him, not to date myself, but he was going across coast to coast doing these races just to get warmed up for his pro debut.
The following year.
Yeah, the following year in 2002. And, racing him as well as Boo Green, which is he went on to do the series. But, qualified for Blackstock and a couple others as an intermediate rider. And, man, that Blackstock track, you're seeing on here, it was gnarly. It was insane. It was one of the tougher tracks.
A big time, yeah. It was rough, gnarly, super choppy. Those big hills, especially you did that start, and then you did that, and then the next time you stepped down into the valley, and then coming up that hill right there, so cool of a section there. Like, might I ask there, Kyle, how were the results against a young Colt Fasciotti back then? Did he?
He, you know what? I beat him at the one race that I believe he crashed. We'll edit that out. We'll get rid of that part. But no, I did. He was good. He was so fast, and it's crazy to see the next year would kickstart 18 years of that guy. Wow. It took him a bit to get that first title.
We'll see him on some of these future ones we'll talk about for sure. Yeah, he was super gifted, super talented, and could just never seem to make things happen. And all of a sudden, he got up under the Blackfoot 10. It was actually 2006 where it changed. And again, we'll probably bump into one of these races. And that kind of ignited it on the Richmond Cowie team, who he had started his pro career with, who was on those bikes that year you're talking about. And then he got under the Blackfoot tent, and after that, that was it for him.
And talking about the Richmond team, it's crazy to see Ron Ashley still had his team strong, which he had Hambling and Woods in the Blackstock race here. And then the Richmond team had Decker and
Darcy Lange.
So they had like similar look because they were both wearing Thor gear. And it was like confusing, like looking at it now. Back then, you just knew, but now it looks like the same team. But man, I just can't get over the depth. You like look through the chart of these guys, and it was just nonstop.
Super iconic names. If you were just a fan following from back then, iconic names, especially with Mike Craig. I mean, Mike Craig won a Supercross, a factory Yamaha racer, factory Kawasaki racer, tons of stuff behind the Stingray, and of course now his son. Christian Craig is racing in the 250 class there against Colt Nichols, catching up with as well. So cool stuff watching that stuff, and it was kind of cool that year. Christian was actually coming to some of the events. I remember watching him at Alverton in behind in the sand pit. He was on like a CRF 70 or 50 or something, just blasting in little sand berms. And, to look at him, you would have never thought he's a little blonde California kid. And, whatever that is. Now it's 20 years later, he's, battling for a 250 championship. So pretty cool for that kind of stuff. But that year was just a big turning wave as far as that American crop. But the cool thing at the end of the series, 1, 2, 3, all Canadian.
Love to hear
it. Blair Morgan, Darcy Lange, 1, 2, 3, with all that American talent chasing him. And that's something that I have always thrived on about our Canadian kids. Home turf matters.
Yes, it does.
When you're in your home court, it makes you feel good. You're just vibing. Those guys got to come in. They got to learn the new things. Not that like it's going to Europe or something where the food is crazy and stuff like that, but home court, man, and JSR proved it for so many years. Colt Fasciotti proved it for so many years that, you know what? the big names can come up, but it's not going to just be handed to them.
Yeah.
It's a big game up here in Canada.
And one thing to note is it was this day we're watching here was an off day for JSR. He was so dominant that he had that bad start, crashed in the first one, came through, and the second one just didn't have a great start either. So normally we were used to the big, he had 20 there, but big number one, always out front, dusting everybody. But this day, Blair Morgan. And it's crazy to see Blair Morgan, 99, we've seen it last episode. And now, 2 years later, he's elevated his game to keep up with these guys and be a contender.
And don't forget, too, for people that know Blair as a fan, in the wintertime, he's racing snowcross. Yeah. He's a world-renowned snowcross champion. At this point in time, a few X Games gold medalists. And like he's doing in the snowcross world what Jeremy McGrath did in our racing world, or like what you saw Bubba Stewart do. Like he changed the face of the sport, and then he comes and plays with us in the dirt in the summer. Yeah. And you'd never even know it. He's so humble, so down to earth, middle of nowhere, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan born, and to see how good he was and how humble he was. Very cool stories behind him there. And other cool notables on that stuff in the 250 class, the 125 class. This is when the 250 four-stroke tournament. You would have been racing one, right? You liked that bike then.
Well, I was on the Honda, but then I switched over in 02.
Okay.
And that's a cool thing in the 125 class. You hear the things buzzing around, and I know you know this story with Homans. Yeah. After that race, he got protested. Yeah. They tore that thing down, and it was a practice motor. It was
bones. Well, nobody knew how to really work on them.
Yeah,
to be
so
honest
new
back then. So the cheating, if there was any, it was pretty far gone for sure. But yeah, Homans that year, that bike changed his career.
Yes.
Up to that point, he was a 5th to 7th, 10th place guy. He was doing okay. Kind of came off a bit of a rough year in 2000. Got hurt when he was riding for Suzuki team. And got on that bike, and it just elevated him. And then the series really catered to that bike. Yeah. The Latuque, this race here at Blackstock, a lot of up and down the hills where that bike was just pulling the two strokes. Mike Treadwell was the guy battling, and actually my buddy Chuck Mesley, number 9, who was many moments in this, either taking somebody out, launching some jump, feet off the pegs, whatever it was super entertaining. He would get 3rd in the series.
He was, we need like the Mesley cam back then because he was a highlight reel. And then you know that from racing with him and being buddies with him. He was, a human highlight reel, everything he did. And he suited the 125 awesome.
Yes.
Like his style, you just watch him, you see some of the spots here, and it was just wild. But
it's making me chuckle. Think about this thing. We always had this voice, hey, Betty, I just grab the throttle, Betty. Switch the throttle like that, just go for it. That's
he had the tongue ring in there.
Yeah, he had the tongue ring in there, stuff like that. I think it swelled up that when he got it. It was all kind of talk with a little bit of a lift. But good entertainment there. But this Blackstock track, it's kind of cool. Stuff like that would never happen nowadays. Look, there's a field, go build it and they will come kind of thing, and that's what that was.
No, big sand pits, and it's such a wild thing, and it was cool. It was just that one-off year. We were able to be
one
there.
And done.
One and done, but man, it created some good racing, and especially having that top talent there. And they're probably like, they're used to the AMA Nationals. Where are we?
Yeah, and funny story to end it off before we get on to our next segment. There is the reason why we never went back there. Our old buddy Stolly and Kinger got in a fight over the water truck, and it was like $500 and money between friends again. Money between friends, and unfortunately, we never got to go back there because it was fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. And going on, we're going to get to next week. I think we have planned 2002 Kamloops. So we'll go West Coast. We're kind of working our way across as well as working our years up. So Kamloops, and I know you were there, and that's kind of when you started your first or second round into broadcasting.
Yeah, and there's some good drama on the track racing that day as well. So that'll be a good one to look at. Oh, God. Memories are popping up right now. I remember the series sponsored by Coors Light. That was a rough on me. That was a rough one on me. Free beer, yeesh.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but
good memories.
Yeah. Anyways, that is another episode of Arma Rewind, brought to you by obviously Arma Sports, and you check those guys out. They got a lot of good supplements to keep us going here. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more InsideX. Welcome back. In this week's social media check-in, brought to you by Gas. We got some cool stuff coming out of the industry this week, and right off the top of my head here, Quinn Amiot just signed a big deal with Manluck, Yamaha. The guys that are doing the Supercross down there, we seen them 2 years ago along with Quinn Amiot signing there. It's Ryder Floyd. We've seen him win the Abbotsford Arena Cross in 2019. The very first round, we've seen Man Luck. Well, they're coming back last year, obviously not able to race the series due to COVID, but awesome to see a privateer like Quinn working hard, doing what he has to do, and he gets a ride with those guys. What a great squad, and we'll have to check in with those guys soon. Next on the list there, Tyler Gibbs, switching up gear brands. It's cool to see T. Gibbs there, back with Fox. Seen him years ago riding that brand, and now he's back there with the Fox Racing guys. I know JC and the whole crew out there in Calgary taking care of the boys, so cool to see. And another Fox rider, Jacob Piccolo, going from the Team KTM like as an amateur support rider, kind of a B rider last year for the KTM squad, now signing with Sky Racing. And man, he has been tearing it up at Club MX. Here's a great shot of him. And it's actually a video of him throwing a nasty whip there over one of their step-ups. Very cool to see him down there grinding it out. Another guy on that Club MX grind is Daniel Elmore, and here's a shot of him at one of the GNCCs. He went out there, did the 3-hour, whatever long race, and man, a good follow on social media, Daniel Elmore. He is constantly pumping out content and a good young rider from BC to keep an eye on him. And that's 3 BC guys in a row right there. But we'll switch it up, and we got a Quebec rider, Sebastian Racine, making that jump to intermediate. Stay tuned for this kid. He's probably going to ride premix again this year. He did it last year, and he's going to probably attack that class again this year before he goes pro in 2022. And another young buck coming up here just got a Kawasaki ride, and that's Dylan Rempel, a local Ontario guy for us, and he's on those 85 Cowies. He's going to be teammates with Marshall Welton and Sanhai, and those guys are going to come up here and try to, tear up that super mini class on that 85 and see what Dylan Rempel can do. And make sure you guys follow us, InsideX and InsideXTV.com, as well as the hashtag. Use the hashtag InsideX on Fox, and we can grab your stuff and post it up here on the show. And this week, brought to you by Gas, those guys over there. Like I said, next week, Sam Gaynor, Steve Sims, we're going to have an interview with those guys and that newly founded Gas team. But stay tuned. We got lots more content coming your way.
Welcome back to the garage. On this episode, we're going to lace up and true some Excel wheels. We had to get rid of the blue wheels that Yamaha supplies OEM. We love the blue wheels, we love that look, but it's not going to look exactly right with our 91 look. So we went with some black A60s. We're going to use Yamaha's production OEM hubs, which are really good hubs, and we're going to use some Excel spokes. So a few things we need to start with. We've got our Excel A60 wheel. We've got our OEM hub, already pressed the bearings and seals in that. We've got our Excel spoke kit, spoke wrench, spoke torque wrench, and truing stand. Next up, you're going to want to find something around the house, anything, just a couple 2x4s, just to prop this wheel up so it's approximately at about the middle height of the hub, like where it would sit on the bike if it was already laced up. This is going to make putting your spokes in a little easier. All right, it's important first off, when you get your spokes out of your kit, check and make sure they're all the same length. Sometimes there'll be different length spokes on wheels. Usually it's on the rear wheel, and I've seen as many as 3 different lengths on a rear wheel. Start with the inner spokes. All the way around. As you're putting them in, you'll start to notice a pattern. They all point the same direction. So we got 9 spokes. And we're going to start putting in the upper spokes. These are going to lay across the top of the inner spokes we just put in. They're going to go in the opposite direction. You'll see that same pattern. So we have our outer spokes into the wheel, and we have our nipples threaded on just a little bit. It's important not to thread those nipples on all the way, because we're going to have to get into putting them a certain distance in later, which is going to make truing the wheel a lot easier. So we're going to move to our inner spokes, and same thing, we're going to line them up whatever hole they go to on the rim. And in this case, and in most cases on front wheels, it's going to go to the hole in between the two that you already put in. So it's going to be the third hole. So we've completed the one side of lacing. We're going to flip the wheel over, and we're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. Honestly, the best part of doing a restore is the graphics, the stickers, yeah, the last part. It just brings it all home, right? It's kind of because it's one of the easiest things to do, and it gives it the look you've been waiting for, but it's just the finished touch. You know your project's done, and you can ride it if you're going to ride it. You can shelf it if you're going to shelf it just to look at it, which is cool too. Yeah, I think that's the funnest part for me. So we finished putting in all our spokes. And next thing to do is we're going to tighten the nipples on the spokes, and we're going to tighten those nipples to the exact same length on every single spoke all the way around. This is going to pull the hub in the proper spot in the wheel center, and it's going to make truing the wheel afterwards a lot easier. So this completes the lacing portion of our wheel. Next, we're going to true this thing up so we can get it on the bike. So we got our Motion Pro Axis truing stand. Nice thing about this stand is that it's single-sided and makes getting your hands in to tighten the spokes up a lot easier. As you've seen, all our spokes are still really loose, and we're going to start and we're going to tighten our spokes up, each spoke a quarter turn all the way around the wheel. Now this is a timely job, but taking your time with this and just doing a quarter turn at a time is going to bring everything in evenly, and it's going to make truing this wheel a lot easier. It might take a few times going around the wheel to get them till the nipples start to seat, and you will notice when they start to seat.
Mr. Roodz, got you some goods. Got the fresh suspension done from old Stevie. And Royal's got great deals on tires right now. We got some of these. So
I like it. We're ready to put this stuff in.
Buddy, let's go.
Excellent. We got this Motion Pro tire station. This thing is going to make life a lot easier. I'm used to just using a 5-gallon bucket on the floor, and this is, man, this thing, just the height of it. The air tank holds a 5 or 10 gallon tank. Everything's there. It's perfect for taking to the track because you're not taking your air compressor with you.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Like the 5-gallon pail growing up was just a nightmare.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Grab that rim, throw her on there, bud.
All right.
Let's get her.
Take this off the stand. This one's done. Yeah, this one's done. She's straight as an arrow. All right, you got to grab a few things out of this old 5-gallon pail I was telling you about.
At least you're just putting it on.
This is my old tire station.
I like that though. You can keep it for.
You know what? It worked for a lot of years. I got a lot of old cool stickers on here. I can't part with it, so now it's just my bucket where I keep all my stuff.
Such a 90s thing. I had Colt Nichols on the show today, and he was talking about Guy Cooper, and I was like, man,
love it.
The 90s. These kids, man, they still appreciate the 90s like we do. So it's good.
They need to. They need to respect your elders. Okay, so we got our tube in. Pop this bad boy on. So we're going to start opposite of the rim lock. And again, being careful not to scratch this. Put it in where it's loose and bring it over. Don't try and shove it in where the tire's firm against the rim.
I actually like that.
Bring it back here and bring it in. Yeah, and you know what? That's where most of the scratches come from.
You need me that. Now you need the bead buddy.
Let's put the bead buddy in, yeah. This thing's really going to help us out. Biggest thing people do is they try and pry this wheel on. You want to push this down into the drop center of the rim, and that's going to give you more slack this way to get this thing on.
All about slack, buddy.
That's it. All right, I got her.
Yeah, you got it from here.
They're in
I'll
there.
let my bee buddy do the work.
That's it. So yeah, you just want to feel in there and make sure that tube isn't going to get pinched where
Yep.
your bead is on your rim there. Because you're going to be pumped, your tires all together, you're going to go put it on the bike, and by the time you get to the track, it's going to be flat.
Maximum traction though today.
You see how it's up right here?
Yeah.
Watch this. You push it down here.
Makes it easy.
It's going to give you some slack. So this tire station's cool, and we talked about putting the air tank in it. Perfect for the track. Nobody's bringing the compressor. So put some air in here and make sure she
So many.
pops up all the way on the bead.
And that's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's the soap and water. The bead cream's cool, but do another layer of soap and water after you get the tire on, because it runs out a little quicker than
Yeah.
this stuff. Yeah, and just feel around, make sure she's seated all the way. You can see it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cheers.
I
Perfect.
think we're good. So we have our wheels completely done, tires on. We have our suspension back from 26. We've got our ride engineering clamps. We're going to need those to put the forks on. Roodz Garage, signing up.
Welcome back to InsideX, and I have a special treat for you guys. I have the Star Racing Yamaha red plate holder in the East Coast, Colt Nichols. How's it going, Colt?
Oh, it's going good, boys. I can't complain. We're out here just first day back on Supercross, getting ready for our last 2 rounds in Salt Lake. And yeah, just trying to make sure we're staying sharp and good to go for the last 2.
Yeah, so talking to you today, you just got back into Supercross mode. You've been in the outdoors, and it's kind of nice for you this year being on the East. It happens to be you get a longer break, and you get some more outdoor laps in.
Yeah, it's maybe a little too long of a break, really. I mean, like 10 or 11 weeks is pretty gnarly, but we definitely got a head start on the outdoor stuff. We've been doing a lot of motos and got to test a little bit. And for me, that's probably the most prep I've had for outdoors in a minute. So that I think that's going to help me tremendously once we take off for the summer. But I was anxious to get back to Supercross. We have some unfinished business there to handle first, and then we can focus on the outdoor stuff. But no, yeah, first day back was good, and I'm happy to be back into the Supercross swing.
Yeah, it's going to start up real quick here. And before we go back, because I like to go back and get from the start, talking a little bit more about Supercross. How have you liked the these little mini bubbles and stuff like that? It's kind of a unique setup, but you get on a run and and different tracks, and you kind of feel comfortable in that stadium, and it must be good.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of the residency so far. I mean, once we went to Houston, I love racing in Texas in general, and that's close to home for me, being from Oklahoma. So I really enjoyed that dirt. It was really sticky and tacky and kind of reminded me of some Oklahoma stuff. And then once we went to Indianapolis, it was the exact same thing. And I kind of found my groove pretty quick in Houston, and then was able to carry that to Indy. And I didn't really want to leave Indy, to be honest. So we could have just finished it out there, 5 races there and call it good. But no, it was fun, man. I really enjoyed it. And, once we got done with Orlando, it was kind of nice. I got to take some time off and kind of heal up a few nagging injuries and, things like that. But, man, I've really enjoyed the 3 races in a row. It was a really cool way to do it so far. And I'm actually a big fan of them. So in the future, yeah, I mean, we can keep them. I think it's
Yeah. I know once you get warmed up to a track or a place, you just want to keep rolling. The only problem is if you do have those nagging injuries, you don't get much time to heal it. But anyways, we'll talk about that in a minute. What I want to go back to is the beginning. You're obviously from Oklahoma, and I've actually visited you in your home, well, not your hometown, but near your hometown, Shawnee's, where you kind of were growing up with a lot of the fast kids there. But being from Oklahoma, you've got to be a fan of a Guy Cooper, obviously Robbie Renard. You train with him, and guys like Trey Kennard. How much do those guys, kind of show you the way?
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. Those were my idols growing up, just because of the Oklahoma thing. Growing up racing, there wasn't many pros that were trying to tackle, racing Supercross and doing all that kind of stuff. So the little bit that we had, I really latched onto him. And Guy was my first hero. Like Guy Cooper was just the man. Like he was just awesome back when I was young. And then obviously we had Robbie, and I just thought he was the coolest dude ever. Like he used to go to some local tracks back when I was on Pee Wees, you know, and he was still in the prime of his career. And you get to see him ride like on a Wednesday night, you know, then he'd go race, you know, Washougal on a Saturday or whatever. So that was huge for me. And then Trey kind of took us all under his wing a little bit once he bought that place in Shawnee and really established himself as a professional. And he definitely taught us the ropes, man. I learned a lot from Robbie. Obviously, I was trained with him for 10 years. And, you know, I actually raced for Guy Cooper my first professional year racing in 2015. He was my team manager. So it all came kind of full circle right there. But I mean, just huge Oklahoma influence, man. Those guys were awesome and great mentors to me. And I'm hoping I can do the same eventually one day. But yeah, I took what I could from each one of them and tried to apply it to my career now.
Yeah, and that's, man, such a cool area you guys grew up. And what an absolute squad. I know even Jimmy Albertson and those guys were there, and very fortunate to be able to visit you guys down there, train. But even before that, when I first heard of you, was actually from a guy that was from Canada living in Oklahoma, Marshall Plum. And I remember meeting your good buddy, Justin Bogle, at Minio's back when he would have been like 10 years old. And like, I think you're younger. So, man, you guys had quite the amateur career, the two of you, and growing up, you must have been battling a lot.
Oh man, we started. I actually just got asked that the other day on my Instagram, like how I met Justin, and we actually raced our first race together when we were, I think, 4 or 5 at 59th and Douglas, which is a very infamous track in Oklahoma. Raynard used to go there all the time, and probably my favorite place growing up. And yeah, I mean, literally since then, it seemed like every weekend we were running into each other, and our parents became friends, and we all started to kind of hang out, and that's just kind of where it snowballed. And yeah, we've had a quite the amateur careers. Once we turned pro, we haven't really linked up much at all. Our career paths kind of, you know, took different turns at different points, and that led us to not really racing that much together, to be honest. But yeah, amateurs, man, it was every weekend, and I enjoyed that side of things. And I don't know if we would have gotten to where we were without one another. We were able to push each other every weekend. I think that elevated both of us and kind of gave us a little kind of battle each other all the time. And man, those are stories I have of racing Justin in the amateur scene.
Yeah, and it's crazy to watch you guys come from the amateur scene. I met up with you guys later on. My brother raced you both, and to see kind of like Justin had a bit of an edge in that amateur scene, and obviously he jumped in the pros and kind of caught fire right away, where, man, you had a different route. I don't think your amateur career was as good as it could have been, and coming out of it, you didn't have the ride lined up like you talked about. You rode with Guy Cooper, which was a smaller team on that Honda, and then you had to battle your way from like arena cross in Costa Rica. That's the hard way to the top. Just explain like all the years that you put in to get to where you are right now.
Yeah, it was definitely not the conventional route, you know, to start things off in a pro career, but it was just the route that was kind of meant for me. You know, I struggled as an amateur as far as staying healthy and, you know, winning races and being that guy. I was always like a top 5, top 3 kind of guy as an amateur, and never really got, you know, most of the attention from the top teams. And that just led to not many opportunities. But luckily I was a team green guy for a long time. That kind of opened a door to go to arena cross. And, you know, it was a big shout out to Ryan Holiday. He's the one that kind of facilitated that and got me that ride just because I was a team green guy for so long. And they were doing the Ricky Carmichael Road to Supercross at the time. So it was like a perfect fit. But yeah, those were some growing pains for sure. Some growing years. And I finally started to get my feet wet a little bit and understand what it took to be a professional and how serious you had to take it and how, you know, vigorous the training was. And I learned a lot of that from Trey, just kind of, you know, being around him as much as I was. And he was like, dude, if you can't handle this now, like you're never going to make it type thing. And I'll never forget that. Those were, you know, some true words he spoke to me and kind of woke me up a little bit. But I feel like from that point on, I started to take it more serious and understand this is what I wanted to do. And it was going to be a lot of sacrifice and it was going to be tough. But yeah, that led to, you know, arena cross to Costa Rica and just trying to find a way to make a little bit of money racing. And then, you know, Costa Rica to cross on Honda. And then after that to the Cycle Trader Yamaha team, which was kind of my breakout year to, you know, get on a podium in Supercross and get some recognition from some top teams. And then right after that, sign with Star. But it's been tough, man. I've been with Star for 5 years now, and just a lot of injuries, a lot of things that have kind of halted our progress along this little path that we're on. But just perseverance, man. I just kept wanting to do exactly what I'm doing right now, and we still have a lot more to go. You know, I'm in a great position, but you know, we want to go win championships and win more races. And, I feel like there's a lot more left in the book of Colt Nichols, if you will. But it was definitely quite the journey to get here. But like I said, it was one that was meant for me and taught me a lot and gave me some character and a little more perspective on things. And I'm definitely not mad at it at all. It was just the one meant for me.
Yeah, and sometimes those journeys you see the very few percent come from racing in Costa Rica, and honestly it's probably a blast. No, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the dream when you were, battling through amateurs and going every weekend to these nationals. Like I ended up in Costa Rica battling guys I have never heard of, but then you end up just, clawing your way to the top there. One thing I wanted to touch on before we go even further is obviously best friends with Justin Bogle, growing up. And I know both you guys on a personal level that Justin is very, very serious, and he takes, he takes it to the next level where you see yourself and you're very fun loving, and just easy going. If something goes wrong, you can kind of brush it off. And it's funny that you guys, different paths, but it's just, then you look at Trey Kennard, who's got a bit of mix of both. He's got that serious and he's got that funny side. So it's cool to see you guys in your dynamic and your friendship and the way that you guys are both, winners at Supercross and all this stuff. And it's just a different way to go. And man, you can appreciate both climbs.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can. Like you said, we're definitely different people. I mean, we go about things a completely different way, me and Justin, and we're kind of we've been best friends, like I said, for a really, really long time. And I learned as much as I could from him, but I knew that I couldn't do it that way. That wasn't the way that I was going to be successful in the sport. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was just simply that route was his and this was mine. I had to kind of figure it out a little differently. And that kind of gave me a little more, like I said, a little more perspective, a little more understanding of it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be conventional, or it's not going to be something that I thought I could just follow Justin and do the same thing. It definitely was not that. So definitely, like you said, two completely different ways of doing it, but we're both Supercross winners, and hopefully I can say I'm Supercross champion and join Trey and Justin in that conversation here soon.
Yeah, and both those guys getting it done on the Geico Hondas. And like you said, you've dealt with some injuries and stuff like that over the last few years. But obviously, Star Racing, what a squad you guys have. First of all, a lot of rookies coming up too. But they obviously seen something in you, and you kept winning races. Even when you came back from injuries, you were able to get up front and battle with those guys. And, now looking at the series, and it seems you're this far into this East Coast series. You kind of know the guys you're up against. The Jet Lawrence is obviously your teammate, Christian Craig. That one race that we've seen, Jet Lawrence, and you get at it. You fell early when you had a whole shot leading the way. Man, it didn't frustrate you, and it was cool to see you after that, just joking with him and talking about it. Was it infuriating during that race though?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually got a lot of comments about that one just because I think it was so entertaining, for the fans and stuff like that. And, I was doing everything I could to really scratch and claw my way back to the front after really just blowing it. I really just threw that race away, and I really felt like I was going to be able to take off that night. But, there was still a lot of racing left. Who knows what could have happened, but I was in a great spot and just made kind of a bonehead mistake. But, in the heat of the battle, it was frustrating just because I knew how quickly I'd caught him. I was kind of eyeing him up a few laps before, then all of a sudden I was on his rear wheel and I was like, wow, I caught him extremely fast. So I was hoping I could just get by him quick and then see how many more guys I could try to tackle. And maybe I could have caught Joe, who got second, or maybe not, but it was frustrating in that sense. But whenever we were doing the back and forth, it was honestly kind of fun. It was like one of those things where we were just trying to get the better of each other, and it was just back and forth. And I seemed to not be able to stick the pass. I made it, 2 or 3 times, I thought, and just never quite could do it. But he's got some good racecraft and, a smart kid, a fast kid, and someone I definitely got to respect, and a kid that's probably gonna have a bright future. I'm probably gonna run into him again, So it was definitely fun. It was a cool race, but overall, I was just glad I got back on the podium and, salvaged some decent points. I wish I could have won that night, but overall we still salvaged, and I did what I could. And we were able to chop it up after the race and just talk about, how fun it was and this and that. So yeah, he's a good kid, and it was definitely a fun race for sure.
Yeah, I know it's and back home here, in Canada, we watch Supercross every weekend, and he's got a group of friends. We pick some riders, and guess what? You're my rider. So I was yelling at the TV I wasn't a Jet Lawrence fan that night, and I needed my guy to get by. I needed those points. And you did what you got to do, and you got on the podium, so I was happy in the end of the day. But no, it's cool to see, and it's man, just to know you guys growing up, and my brother racing against you, Justin, and then having Cooper, the Fantastic Four back in the day, running that Thor gear. Man, that was the era, though.
Man, that was quite the era. Me and Justin talk about it frequently, man. That was just, even me and Coop, because me and Coop are still pretty close, and man, it's just that was fun, dude. It was some of the most fun times racing of my career. I mean, I was injured for a decent part of it, but when I was racing and then just hanging out with all you guys, like, it was just, man, it couldn't have had a more fun, like, last few years as an amateur. And that's what it was all about, getting your friends together and going from camper to camper, just kind of being idiots and, just trying to keep the dream alive and one day go pro, and look at all of us racing, in our respective classes and countries even, or whatever. And, yeah, man, I can't say enough really good things about, Cole, Coop, and Justin, myself, just good friends. And yeah, some of the best memories I have as amateurs are with those boys, for sure. It was a good time.
Yeah, and it's honestly, just like you said, going to the motorhome to motorhome, it's not like that once you hit the pros. It's a little bit more serious. People are flying in, doing the hotels. You got to take your time to just kind of get in your zone. And back in the amateur days, you're doing, like, you're during the week, you're there for like 7 days. You're doing like 8 different classes. You're just motoing and just hanging out with buddies, maybe playing a little basketball at Oak Hill. I know you love basketball.
No, yeah. Yeah, that made it fun, man. Tried to hit the court, chasing girls, running around on golf carts, like doing all the fun stuff, like just being kids, just kind of being idiots. So I do miss that. It was definitely a lot different once you turn pro. I mean, you literally fly in, you take care of business, you go home. It's no week long, just hang out. And, you miss that kind of camaraderie sometimes with your fellow, even racers, competitors, whatever. A lot of us were friends as amateurs. So things change, you involve money and your livelihood, and, things change really quick. But yeah, those were some good times back in the day.
Yeah, no, it's I miss it too, just the traveling and just being with the family and the friends and stuff like that. Great stuff. But man, it's so awesome to see what you've done with your career. And like I said, man, you're a very low percent of the people that can claw their way back up. And from, like I said, Costa Rica to arena cross to finding a privateer ride to full factory ride and now holding the red plates. 2 rounds to go, man. We wish you the best of lucks, and we really appreciate you coming on our show. And, hopefully catch up with you later on in the season, and you'll be a champion. I know you can do it. And thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, boys. I appreciate it. That's the goal. And yeah, we'll talk soon. But thank you. It was good.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more InsideX.
I will never stop. Would you want me to slow down? Would that make it easier for you? Or would you want the fight? To pour your heart into it kind of fight? Or should I stop working so hard? I know you'd want me to slow down. I know it would make it easier for you. But then the gate drops. I wouldn't be anywhere else. One goal, one vision.
Well, there you have it. Another episode in the books. And like I said, we're rattling these things off. We're going to be racing soon. I know you've been training, riding. Next episode, we're going to get a cardo segment in here. I'm going to talk to you. You're looking good, looking sharp each week, getting trimmer. And anything that we're doing, we talked about this week was Blackstock. Last week was Riverglade. We're going to have them up, the links up on our site. Cool. So the Arma Rewind section on InsideXTV.com. And we're going to post all these because, man, I think people should go back and listen to Travers and Coster talking and see a young Galdi when it comes in. So go there. And also for social media, the KTM Husky Gas section. InsideX on Fox. Make sure you get on that, Facebook or Instagram, even Twitter. We'll check some tweets out. Get on that. And I know you've been tweeting and Instagramming.
Oh, I'm on the Insta bangers. Too much of my kids though, man. They're starting stealing my thunder.
I know.
Like I need to blow some berms up, but my wife, she can't hold the camera. I don't have a man friend.
We need to get the Interlace boys out there to make a Galdi edit.
Oh man, that thing might just blow the internet right up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But no, so episode...
The bubbles are popping up with ideas right now. That's what they're doing.
Ideas, light bulb. But episode 3 in the books. Episode 4 coming up next week, April 14th. Before we take a little bit of a break before your race season starts in ammo. So got another episode next Wednesday at 8 p.m. and that's on Fox Sports. And then we're going to be racing here.
Oh my God. People are riding everywhere right now. Everything is open. The weather is beautiful. We're loving life. It is awesome. It's such an exciting time of year. And And normally we're actually been racing maybe 2 weeks ago, back in our days already,
Yep.
the beginning of April, but things have changed just weather-wise, COVID-wise. It's awesome. So pumped right now to get going and to see our family and friends at the track.
Yeah,
Get the
exactly.
barbecues
And so
and
that's
all
one
the
thing
fun
that
stuff.
I wanted to bring up is we're gonna have to steal your boys for a little segment too, because they got new electric bikes. So I know they're Huskies, right?
Yeah, I got the Husky EE models. Yep.
Yeah,
Two
and
of
those things, man, were changing the face of moto. Like, I mean, you could ride in your yard, nobody would even know.
Yeah, so far the boys are liking it. I had to get the lowering kit for Riley to lower it down for him. He's got stubby legs like Dad, and but Jake's loving it. They're having fun, and yeah, I got a little track I built in my side yard actually, so the boys can go out there and ride, and I can just chill and have a beverage and scream at them, get the stick and smack them. Front brake, front brake. You know, stuff
And they
like
could
that.
hear you too, because there's no
Exactly,
motor.
right? Yeah, they can't rev it up like it back in the day if you want to hear it. So,
Yeah.
very cool bike. I'm loving that part of it. It's kind of unique to see about the sport from so many years I've been doing it. You never would have thought it, and now my kids are riding. It's very cool.
Yep. So we're gonna do more stuff with Husqvarna and KTM, as well as Royal and Parts Canada. Those guys helping us out, and the Blue Crew. So we're gonna keep more to the track now, and obviously get those Cardo systems. I know I want to talk to you about that. So lots of stuff to come. Episode 4 coming out next week. This is episode 3. Signing off here for InsideX. Make sure you check out InsideX on Fox, #InsideXTV.com for all the goods. And thanks for tuning in.